Boopathy Nalin, thank you for coming and talking to me for the second time. I really appreciate your time and the willingness to do it. And this time we are going to talk about something completely different because I'm doing a series on resistance parallel to what's happening in Sri Lanka right now. And I am featuring a few artists in different genres. Now, I know you don't fit into any kind of category easily, okay? But what I want you to do today is to talk about film, resistance in film, because I know you're knowledgeable about that subject. And I know you wrote a screenplay, a script, which was quite popular. And we will talk about that, Dakala Purudu Kenek, in recent times. And though you didn't direct it, though you came in as a writer, obviously your links to film is there. And I will also be talking to a few others on film, but I want you to talk about what resistance in film means. And I will lead it to the Sri Lankan cinema after you give me a rough global idea of what this means. Because I mean, good art is anyway resistance, right? You protest about something and that is why you create anyway. But tell me how resistance in film can be explained briefly first.
Yeah, sure. And first of all, thank you for writing for the same time. I'm glad. Basically, as you mentioned very correctly, cinema can be, or artwork can be in means of resistance in many ways. First of all, I would like to consider as resistance as a theme in cinema. So there are many films, if you take in that way. I mean, if you take cinema, cinematic content as a resistance, there can be many examples in different, as you mentioned, genres or as movements or as traditions. So I think basically the resistance of cinema mainly started with the Russian Revolution, with the avant-garde movement of cinema. So there are many films, mostly with the very famous called Battleship Potemkin by the veteran filmmaker Sergei Eisenstein. It was kind of a resistance in both ways, as a piece of artwork and at the same time as practicing art, the way of practicing art. What I meant by...
What year is this, Boopathy? What year is this?
I think around 1924. Okay. I can't remember the exact date.
No,
just
no
after the
1920s.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, just after the 1921 Civil War. I mean,
yes.
just
Boopathy, are you using a mic? Sometimes your voice gets a bit cut. You're using a mic or you're talking?
I have some throat issue.
No. Apart from the throat issue, there's a tick tick sound also, which the mic is clear, no? Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Maybe a bit closer might help. Thank you. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. But the film came just after the Russian Revolution, establishment of the Soviet Union. Starting from that movement, and there was a documentary film movement. Once we consider cinema, we have to go with deal with these both ends. Fiction filmmaking and documentary filmmaking.
Yeah, there are two genres. There are two genres: the creative feature film and the documentary. And I just want to add, you're doing both, no? Like Dakala Purudu Kenek feature, and you have two documentaries as well. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, one documentary and another one I'm working on. So actually, Madhubashi are not considering documentary as a genre. It's a category of cinema. There are two categories in cinema, fiction filmmaking and documentary filmmaking. Once you goes into documentary filmmaking, there can be many genres. There can be many genres like mockumentary, docudrama. There are many genres inside documentary or inside, once you come to inside fiction filmmaking. So anyway, what I was going to tell was that once you come to the avant-garde movement of the Russian tradition, there was a very important movement called Kinopravda. In Russian, Pravda means truth. That was the famous newspaper published by Bolshevik Party at that time. In Sri Lanka also we had the version with the Communist Party called Atharamadiyawa. The original Russian version was Pravda. truth. So they made a film movement called Kino Pravda. Kino means cinema, Russian. So Kino, the cinema truth. So they wanted to capture the truth, or the so-called, I mean, within brackets now it's very controversial. What do you call truth? Once you comes to post theory and everything. But anyway, they wanted to express the real issues and the most contradictory social happenings via cinema, through cinema. So there was, and at that time, Madhubhashini, cinema, there wasn't any television or any video, I mean, materials to watch at that time. Cinema was the, I mean, movie image, which we found in visual history. So they had many newsreel screenings, as you can see in many countries, even in Sri Lanka. Still, you can see the newsreels, documentaries at Independence Day or any other particular occasion. They still have short material shot by the government film unit of Sri Lanka or any other country. So it was a kind of a, I mean, official record, I mean, about the basically what you call the mainstream, I mean, kind of supportively, kind of a propaganda type newsreels were screened in each and every country. To counter that, there was a political movement called Kino Pravda to make some kind of controversial and some kind of, I mean, alternative version of the reality. So
I'm going to interrupt you, and they could do this without any problem. Yeah. There was no state repression for this kind of open counter movement.
There were in the Soviet Union, there were, but at the very early period, while Lenin was there, Vladimir Lenin was there were kind of a freedom and a kind of a, I mean, not a total freedom.
At the beginning, there was some kind of freedom for counter movement. No? Before Stalin came into power. Okay.
Yeah, and Stalin came to power. Obviously, have a lot of restriction censorships. Include
Boopathy, I'm going to pause a minute, and then we are going to discuss this mic problem. Then you can hear what I'm saying. I'm going to pause a minute now, okay? And we'll come back to it. Wait there.